for Dance with your host Yasmina Ramsey, where we explore how world dance expresses the inexpressible and helps us to understand the meaning of our existence. Snoopy, also known as Mathew Cuff, helped introduce the dance art of voguing internationally by being featured on So You Think You Can Dance Canada and CBC Arts' The Move. He was part of Canada's first official ballroom house, the House of Monroe. Snoopy is a graduate of the School of Toronto Dance Theatre and has a background in hip-hop. He has battled some of the greatest voguers in New York City, taught voguing in Russia, and performed with the Toronto Symphony Orchestra. Snoopy is now working towards establishing the art of voguing on Mainstages for dance with an ensemble of Vogue dancers. He is an exciting artist who I'm sure you will want to follow. Hi, Mathew. Thank you for coming today. I'm really happy to have this chance to meet you and talk to you. And what should I call you? Should I call you Matt or Mathew or Snoopy?
You can call me Snoopy, and it's my pleasure to be here.
So I first found out about you because I'm on the committee at Dance Ontario Board for deciding who is going to be the two creative partnership artists for the following year at Dance Ontario Dance Weekend. You know, we have to read a lot and watch a lot of videos, and it can be arduous.
Yeah.
It's not that much fun.
Yeah.
But every now and then, every couple of years or something really stands out and is like, oh, now this is interesting.
Nice. Yeah.
And you were that for sure. And my colleagues, they agreed. We all agreed.
Yeah.
So you're one of our chosen artists for this year. And for me personally, why it was so exciting is because when I read your story, I found a kindred spirit in the sense of my dance form, mostly popularly known as belly dance. I don't like to use that term, but when I started 40 years ago, it was definitely not considered art. And I had tried to join things like Dance Umbrella, and they said, no, what you do is not dance. So I've gone from that to being funded by the Canada Council and, you know, performance of 45 musicians and dancers, and went from, I could tell you some horror stories of what I went through. So I completely empathize with your struggle of taking an art form that's not considered mainstream art and trying to push that envelope and get it onto main stages for dance. So I'm here to like cheer you on big time.
Yay! I'm excited.
So I understand you've studied many styles of dance, and then out of all that, the passion was really with the voguing. Is that correct?
So I basically fell in love with dance because I have 3 older brothers and they're all good at everything. And it was hard to like be in their shadow. So I was like, what am I going to do to set myself aside from them? And I found a show in school and I loved the feeling of being on stage. And I saw music videos, commercial dance, and I was like, I can do this. I feel the passion for it, so I should go through with it. So that's what kind of drove me to dance per se. And from there, I started with hip hop, and then as I fell in love with other genres, and I always appreciated like exploring other genres of dance because I felt like it would make you a stronger dancer.
What genres of dance did you study?
When I first started, I started off in a hip hop dance troupe, and we just trained and got better with choreography and then like hip hop basically. And then it wasn't until like the So You Think You Can Dance frenzy where I saw other genres of dance exposed like to the mainstream. I saw contemporary, I saw jazz, and I saw that all these dancers were able to do all these other genres. And I said, if I want to do this, be a part of this industry, I think to be strong, I want to like tackle every genre and just appreciate every genre of dance. That was my main goal, just to be like a salad of dance as a dancer.
I love that expression.
Yeah.
And then when did you discover voguing?
Vogue. So when did I discover Vogue? Oh yeah. So when I was with my hip hop troupe, with my friends, they were just showing me voguing, but it didn't really look too pleasing. I was like, what are they doing? It was kind of off-putting because I guess they weren't the greatest at it yet. But it wasn't until like we were all hanging out and then I went to a friend's house and then they were watching like ballroom clips of like voguing and balls and I saw like a clip of Leomi. She's like an iconic voguer. And then when I saw this clip and I saw how free they were in their skin and how they were just embodying the movement and the music, I was like, I have to learn this. Like, I need to learn this. It looks so spiritual, it looks magical, it looks uplifting, and I just dove right in.
I understand that there's quite a narrative with the dance, and it's kind of a form of competition, and that you're speaking with your movements in kind of a, I don't know, maybe a one-upmanship. Is that true? Yeah. Yeah.
So basically, if you watch like the documentary Paris is Burning, they explain like voguing is shade, and basically as opposed to violence, two voguers would go on the floor and throw shade, like a form of like physical, like a form of insult. You basically out showing the other competitor, and then you leave it on the floor and you hug it out, and then you bring it back to the next battle.
What is the competition about? Why are people competing with each other?
Because a lot of youth, queer youth, were ostracized and they didn't have like a family and they were either abandoned, so they would join houses. Houses are as like your gay chosen family, and then basically you go to these balls and you compete with your family. Wow. And it's a bonding thing. It's like it's an outlet for like queer youth it was an outlet for queer youth to express themselves basically.
Right, instead of assert their identity.
Yeah.
What is a ballroom? Why the name ballroom?
A lot of the competitions would take places in big ballrooms. So if you watch like if you watch Paris is Burning, you'll see a lot of the balls happen in these big open ballrooms. When competitors would compete, it would like be like a catwalk style, and there'd be like an aisle of people on either side.
And so why you have this burning desire, I mean, I understand why, but you explain to take this art form to mainstream dance and have it presented at things like Dance Ontario Dance Weekend, Fleck Theatre, etc.
Just like you, I've been on like I've been on a panel for like a mini grants, and I know what it's like to like read through a lot of the same things. Nothing really jumps out. And I've been a part of Dance Ontario for 2 to 3 performances, and I found like a lot of the stuff was the same. Like nothing was really speaking to me as far as like the diversity goes in Canada or just in the arts. It took me a while to get the courage to do chromatic at like a smaller dance showcase, because a lot of people were like taking Vogue and like appropriating it and then throwing it into their pieces here and there and not really having an in-depth connection to it. And I was like, it's time to like show this art form because it's beautiful, it's uplifting, and it's very impactful. So it was like, it's time to like bring this beautiful art form to a bigger stage. Because I'm like, every time somebody's I know sees Vogue for the first time, they're like, their jaw drops and they're just amazed by it. So I'm like, it's about time it's out there more.
And what do you hope audiences will take away from it, or what do you think audiences how will it affect them?
I think it will affect them in a very positive way, because it's always a great thing to open your eyes to like other art forms and other genres and other communities, because it's also good to uplift like smaller other genres that don't get enough light, because it's very heavy with what genres get portrayed as for the theater. So I think everything is for the theater, no matter where it comes from, no matter who does it. So I want people to leave with like the experience of like joy, because I feel like with my Vogue, it brings me joy. So I hope they leave with that and an understanding of another arts community.
I found with my art form, taking it to the main dance theaters, I had to adjust it a little bit, almost take some of losing the baby with the bathwater kind of idea. But because it's not supposed to be in that environment, it's supposed to be in a more communal, natural, family type environment, as opposed to a proscenium stage in a theater. But by doing so, it caused audiences to see my dance form in a very different light than how they had the preconceptions of it before.
Mm-hmm.
And so in that sense, it was very valuable. Do you have that same kind of, like, do you think you're going to need to, how do you say, jig it a little bit?
Alter it.
Yes.
Definitely, because when ballroom was very underground, it was very intimate, it was very for us by us. So when you bring it to a bigger stage, you're not gonna get maybe all the aspects of it. You're just gonna get like doses of it. Because when you go to a ball, it's usually like at a club. It's very like it's very closed. It's very like everybody's like crowding the floor, and you feel everybody's energy. Whereas like when you're putting it on stage, it's gonna be bigger, open, and lights. So that's going to be one of the things I have to adapt to, because it's like I have to bring ballroom to a bigger stage now. But you're definitely going to get the passion of ballroom, because like one of the things with ballroom is you're always going to see the passion of ballroom regardless of where it is, and it's just a matter of where it's coming from and who it's coming from. So they're definitely going to get ballroom. It's not going to be as intimate as like going to a ball, but you're definitely going to get a show per se.
Mm-hmm. Besides throwing shade, I mean, actually, when I read your description, that was the first time I had a little bit of knowledge of voguing, but not a lot. That was the first time I understood this idea of throwing shade and competitive. I thought it was affirmation of I'm here, I'm out here, I'm proud, I have a lot to say. And how do you say, I am strong because of the suffering I have had to endure by being different.
Mm-hmm.
Is that part of it?
Most definitely, beyond like the shade and the competitiveness, there's like voguing is essentially a celebration of oneself, to allowing them to bringing them to an understanding that like I'm here and I'm worth something. Because a lot of like I said, ostracized youth, queer youth who Vogue, especially trans women, men and women who Vogue, what happens was they're celebrating their bodies, they're celebrating their spirituality, they're celebrating their sexuality, they're celebrating the love of movement, the love of music. So a lot of the times when you see people voguing, it's coming from a very spiritual, personal place. That's why it's like really offensive when people like make a mockery of it, or they just take it and they throw it into things. Because a lot of voguing for a lot of my friends was like their livelihood. Like it was what got them out of the bed in the morning. It's what like motivated them. It's what stopped them from just having terrible thoughts. Like the moment the music came on and they started voguing, all of their worries in their world just went away. So there's a lot more to Vogue than just competition. It's like I said, for example, an icon, he told me when femme queens or trans women were voguing and they were touching their bodies, it can come off as cockiness, but he told me it was for essentially they're celebrating their new bodies, their transformation. So when he told me that, I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. That makes so much more sense. It's still more in depth than what people see it from the outside. Like there's a lot about Vogue that people could learn about.
Mm-hmm. So you feel basically that voguing has a lot to offer the society at large. Mm-hmm. And as long as it's kind of on the fringes, people can kind of abuse it and just take parts of it and appropriate it in the way that they want without the history and the depth of the meaning. Mm-hmm. So by you bringing it to the stage, you're hoping to share that deeper aspect so that it can affect people. Because when you see the real thing, like you've seen, and like I know in when you see the real thing, then you're like, oh, okay, now I get it. Like this powerful stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but unfortunately,
it's definitely making us reach, because like from when I started voguing to now, it's like it's really mainstream now, but it still has a long way to go before it like reaches the masses. Because I find it surprising that I still ask people here if they know what voguing is, and they still don't. They haven't seen it. And I'm like, come on, you have to like expose yourself to this stuff. It's amazing.
You know, when I read your application, I thought, wait, how come this hasn't already happened? I mean, it's not like I know a lot about voguing, but surely it's a powerful dance form. It's been around for a while, and people know about it enough that Madonna did a whole bit about it. So if that happened, how come it isn't already mainstream? How come it isn't being shared with everybody? You know, I was kind of surprised. Like it hit me like, It's about
Mm.
time.
It was just probably the climate of the time, because a lot of the time it's like maybe back then people just weren't ready for it, and now it's just like now in the time we live in, it's like people are ready for it now. I can tell.
Right. Yeah. There's more discussion. So is there your creative process when your idea to take this dance form that's normally in an intimate, crowded ballroom, lots of energy,
Hmm.
and you're taking it to kind of a not stale, but a little bit cold situation of a theater where you can't
Hmm.
interact? How are you going to bring that energy? Do you know, or do you think the dance itself, the movement, the dancers will speak for themselves? Like you don't really need to do much.
I think this time around, I will definitely rely on my posse, my group, because a lot of them have their own stories, and I feel like the beautiful thing about voguing is no two people vogue alike, and everybody has their own story. So I feel like within all of us, we can come up with many stories and come up with like a whole dialogue of movements and just make magic on that stage. Because I know the art form of Vogue can be transposed and generated in so many different ways, and I feel like that's going to be the fun with it. Because I think because the fact that we're bringing Vogue to the stage is going to just we're going to come up to that challenge because we like to be thrown and put in awkward situations as far as like performing Vogue and how big we can make it and how uncomfortable we can make the audience feel with it, like in a good way though. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to like make the audience like feel our energy. So I think adapting it to a stage wouldn't be what's not going to be hard. It's like if anything, we're going to have fun with it, and we're just going to embrace the fact that we're here and we're just going to give it our all.
If you have ensemble work, will it always be a solo and another solo or two soloists working off of each other? Or will there ever be ensemble work where everybody's, in unison in a sense?
We're going to basically work off of like the structure of the ensemble work that we've done earlier. And I want to explore like breaking off and like playing with solos and definitely duets, because I feel like you can do a lot with voguing as far as like movement wise, and it's going to be amazing to put voguing on a stage with that like that with lighting and playing with like different stories and moods, all the layers that vogue can be brought in.
So, what's your vision for the future?
My vision for the whoa, that's a big question. So my vision for the future is to definitely I want to leave my footprints in the sands as far as the dance industry goes here. I know like steadily I'm doing it, but I want to bring Vogue to like the world. I want to like share my passion of Vogue, and also I want to share my passion of dance. I want everybody to know what voguing is. I don't want anybody to be like, what's that? I want everybody to embrace it, everybody to just love it, and I want more diversity as far as like the Dance Ontario stage goes. Like this is only the beginning. Like I feel
Yeah,
like we're just the catalyst of what's to come in
for
the
sure.
future for dance for the commissions.
And how do you feel if one day everybody wants to be a Vogue dancer and there's schools of Vogue and they're opening up all over the
Ooh,
place and kids are signing up at age 6 and everybody wants their kid enrolled? And how do you feel about that as a future?
that's another thing I would love. I want voguing to be in like the repertoire of like dance. I want it to be like you go to a dance school like an ALE, and then Vogue is like one of the courses that you have to take, an in-depth course of voguing, even all the way down to like the youth, because I feel like youth can definitely embrace it and take it further and just like yeah, because I feel like voguing is definitely like I said, it's a self expression dance, so you can just like definitely I think it can help the youth a lot, especially like with expressing themselves, because like me being in school was like hard to express myself. So I feel like if I had Vogue back then, that would definitely have been easier for me. So I'm definitely looking forward to like having Vogue on that spectrum of in schools and worldwide.
I can see myself, I'm shy basically, wanting to sign up for a class like that because I really see it as like putting yourself out there, not
Mm-hmm.
hiding behind steps or technique, or you
Yes.
either put your whole force of your personality out there or the rest is moot, really. That's what it seems to me for that dance style. So I could see it could help anybody of any age or sex or from any part of society or any country in the world, that it would be
Definitely.
a beneficial, healing kind of dance to do for your soul.
Yes, voguing does not discriminate. Voguing is for everybody. Just make sure you know where it comes from and take the time to like appreciate like the icons and the people who've laid out the blueprint of Vogue. Yes.
Exactly. Yes. I think without that kind of history, it's empty, it's meaningless, it's just
Yeah.
movements.
Yeah, basically, yeah, pretty much.
You have to identify with its history. Yeah. Anything else you want to talk about?
I can probably tell you like timeline of my voguing stories. So after I was exposed to voguing by my friends, he basically took us under his wing and he made us go to his house and watch Paris is Burning, and he taught us how to vogue. And then once I saw the film, I was more appreciative of it because I was like, oh my goodness, this is like I see like this is their lives. This is so much, it's more in depth, there's more layers to it. So I took it very seriously from then. And then as a group, we collectively came up with the House of Monroe. It was the first mainstream ballroom house in Canada. And we were like a performance troupe. And then I was eager to like travel in Vogue because my goal was to like, once I saw the icons, I was like, I need to be as good as them. I need to get out there. So what happened was I went to a Kiki ball and in the US, and then I had a good time. Like once I felt that energy in New York, I was just like, this is intense. So I just kept at it, and it was kind of hard for me to juggle voguing with like other genres of dance because like back then like it was like hidden. It wasn't like out there like it is now. So I found often I was like living like a double life. Like, okay, let me vogue in the evenings, and like during the day I'm gonna be doing hip hop and whatnot. So it was kind of a juggle until like later on I just accepted like this is what it is. I do both. Let me just embrace it. And then after being in Monroe for a little while, I wanted to spread my wings. I joined an American house called La Vin. And basically, just from going to balls and traveling, I met people, and then I got offered to join that house. And yeah.
And now this project is all you, it's your baby, the one you're wanting.
Yes.
Yes. And Chromatic was your baby.
Yes, it was my baby. So how I got into Chromatic was there's an artist called Leke 47. She's very out there with her music. It's very uppity. It's very it's very queer friendly music. Like it has like a lot of house beats. It's like very vogueable, and just like it matches like the aesthetic of voguing. So when I saw her videos, I'm like, she's amazing. Like I love her energy and her style. So and then when I heard this song, I was like, this song is perfect. And I thought of the rainbow, like the pride flag. I'm like, let me do a piece that represents all lanes and aspects of LGBT and allies and voguing in the community, and bring it to a piece. And then when I brought it to like a smaller showcase stage, choreographer's ball, it got like an amazing response. And I'm like, thank you, because it's like it's been so long that I've been seeing like voguing plopped in here and there in pieces, and it wasn't really authentic. And it was like this is the first moment that like a full length Vogue piece was on a stage, especially on a stage that was meant for like hip hop and contemporary audiences. Mm-hmm. So they were watching it like, oh my gosh, we came and busted through the doors in our bright colors, and then it was just like amazing. So it was definitely a statement that we made, and I was happy to do it. And I'm definitely excited to make it bigger and better. Like I wanted to like dissect it, pull it apart, and just make it grander for the bigger stage.
Mm-hmm. And then bigger and bigger stages and bigger budgets.
Yes, and then the musical, then the movie, then everything else. Yes.
Ah, wow! You really have your. I don't think I ever planned out my future; it just happened. But that's great. You're young and you've got it all set up. So, would the movie be more documentary, like telling the history and everything of the art form, or?
Oh no! I was just aiming high. I'm just saying. I was just like. Okay. I was just putting it out there.
So you already have it planned.
Yes. No, not yet. It's coming.
So you've been to New York. You've watched it in New York, performing it here in Toronto. Have you been anywhere else in the world and seen voguing?
Oh my goodness. So for a long while, I wanted to go to Paris because like they had a blossoming scene and it grew so fast. And just watching clips on YouTube, I felt their energy. And I always told myself, oh, it's too expensive to go to Paris. It's too far. I have nowhere to stay. It's going to be too much. And it wasn't until I manifested it. And I was just like, you know what, Matthew, if you're going to do this, change the way your thought process. So it wasn't until I said, you know what, Matthew, you're going to go to, or Snoopy, you're going to go to Paris and you're going to live your life and you're going to Vogue in Paris. And then within like 6 months, I planned it and I went over there. I created a storm. Like I ended up making it to like the finals. And then people were like, where's he from? I'm like, I'm from Canada. And so that was a big highlight moment for me. As far as like ballroom and voguing, I went over to Paris and I was just like, I got to see Paris. Like for one, Paris is a beautiful city, and I got to vogue there and meet so much people, and it was just a beautiful thing. And then just being on Instagram, I met somebody. Her name's Kira. She trains rhythmic gymnastics on the national level. We got introduced on Instagram, and basically she asked me to teach her how to Vogue. And then within a year, we became very great friends. And then I think the following year, she took me over to Moscow. And then I got to see Moscow, and I just got to teach some of her kids Voguing. It was like her rhythmic gymnastics camp, because rhythmic gymnastics is very disciplined. It's very I don't want to say stiff, but it's very just like rigid and just like. So whereas like she wanted me to teach them voguing because it'll help them loosen up and just like have fun with just expressing themselves. And then meeting them from day one until like the week 2, it was like beautiful. They were like so open. They were so happy. They were just like, they were ecstatic. They couldn't stop hugging me, and they were like, "Oh my goodness, we like you're like Snoopy, Snoopy, Snoopy." So it was a blessing to get to teach Vogue in another country and just on the other side of the world. So that was a blessing as well too.
Yeah, you must have really shook things up there.
Yeah.
Where did voguing start? Which city did it start in?
New York City was like the epicenter of it, and basically people would travel from like Europe to go compete in New York. And what happened was like Ballroom Scene, there was talent all over the world. They opened other chapters of houses. So for example, there's the house of Revlon is in New York. That's just an example. Or the house of La Beige is in New York. They're gonna have people competing from Europe, and if they see talents in Europe, they're gonna open a chapter in Europe. So that's how like Ballroom just spread its wings and just like went all over the world.
And are these houses like teams, sort of, or schools?
Yeah, like I said, you're like your chosen family, because a lot of the times, voguing or being a part of the ballroom scene, you may not fit in necessarily in other scenes, depending on where you're from or what kind of family you're in. So me being a part of a Christian Jamaican family is very hard for me to just express myself or just be myself within that household. So me finding an outlet like ballroom was a blessing for me, because I could just genuinely be myself and just express myself through voguing.
So belonging to a house is a sense of another family that you can belong to.
Yeah. So last year I did invited to perform with TSO, and they were doing collaborative with like 7 dancers from different genres. So I got to vogue with the symphony, and I got to dance.
So just to be clear, because audiences who don't know, the TSO is the Toronto Symphony Orchestra.
Yes. So that was a hidden blessing, because I didn't realize how much of an impact it was. I don't think people really vogue to live music, so that was a big first for me. And just voguing being in that arena or on that stage was very impactful, because it just opened a lot of doors and opened a lot of eyes for people who haven't seen Vogue and have no idea what it was. It was definitely a blessing, because it was like voguing to live music is completely different from like voguing to like the house music that Vogue music is generally performed to. And it was just a blessing. And I made a post about it on my Instagram, and I'd be getting like such great feedback. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize how impactful it was.
What kind of music did they play for you?
So for me, what they did was they took Madonna's Vogue and they put it
Okay.
on the live orchestra.
Wow.
And it was just like hearing the track and then hearing it live on an orchestra is like night and day.
Yeah.
And it was just like, it was very moving and spiritual for me just to be on that stage and just like be in that space. And I got to perform for kids, adults. I think one of the mayors was there one time. It was just like, it was a blessing. It was so much fun. So yeah, that's how that came about. Joy of Dance asked me to join them on this collaboration, and it was a blessing. It was definitely a highlight in my my voguing timeline or my dance timeline.
You're kind of like a conduit, and at a most important time in history, we'll look back to this time way in the future in history when voguing is just like every other dance that everybody does. This is the moment when because many dance forms are like that. They start underground, and they're not accepted, including ballet. For a long time, we think of it as this, the pinnacle of dance, but for a long time it was on the fringes, and then eventually something happens and comes to the mainstream. So you're definitely a conduit of that.
Yay! I'm excited. It's my pleasure to share it because the love I have for it, I'm always more than happy to share it and expose it to the world. Let the world see voguing.
Well, Snoopy, I wish you all the luck in the world, and I can't wait to see your performance in January. I don't know if it's going to be just virtual or in a theater yet. We don't know about that. But,
yes, we will see. Stay tuned.
Either way, I'm sure I'll see you live sometime soon, hopefully.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
Okay. Take care. Bye.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too. Thank you for joining me, your host, Yasmina Ramsey, for this week's episode of Deeper Dance. If you would like more information, please check out my website at yasminaramseyarts.com. I hope you join me next week with more fascinating guests and more ideas to ponder inspired by dance.